Hi, everyone, and welcome to Healing Conversations, episode 7. Just had to do a quick check in my mind. We're up to episode 7. And today we're going to be talking about the power of resonant language, which is a really core component of the way that Gloria and I work, and one that we're really looking forward to unpacking and talking about today. So,
Yes.
Gloria, I'm
Yeah.
wondering, it's lovely to see you, and I'm
Yeah,
wondering
good
if
to see you too.
you would like to kick our healing conversation off today.
Yeah. So the first thing that comes up is really, what is resonant language?
Yeah,
So we've been taking the time to actually clarify what is this topic that we're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
And so when we think about resonance, one example that I enjoy is when you have two guitars,
Mm,
and if you pluck a string on one of those guitars, the other guitar next to it, that same string will begin to vibrate.
mm,
So there's a syncing up that happens, and that's resonance.
mm, mm.
Another example would be cellos, which maybe that's an even nicer example because when you have the I don't know what it's called, but when you
The
slide
bow?
the bow, thank you,
Yeah.
across, what is that thing? When you use the bow across the string, you really can hear the sound, and then the other cello would also resonate with that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when we think then bringing that in with language,
Mm,
it's
mm,
like when one person can capture what another person is feeling,
mm,
um, what their emotional expression is with language,
mm.
there's that resonance, and you actually can feel it in your body.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say that for me, one of the key components of thinking about resonant language is actually
Mhm.
starts not with the language, but the felt sense
Yes.
of um, resonating with another, or another resonating with me, which is very much like that beautiful attunement
Hmm.
with the musical instruments. Mm,
Hmm.
mhm,
Yeah, and the other thing that changes it as well, and this works not human to human, but with human to
mm,
horse as well,
mm, mm.
is the warmth that you can actually feel
Yes,
in the connection.
yes,
So the
yes.
language is not just limited to words.
No, no, and that's really important too, because I'm thinking about times when I have been teaching resonant language in my empathic communication program, and one of the pieces that sometimes, even though I might mention it right at the outset and repeatedly through the program, one of the pieces that people seem often to get like a thunderbolt sort of
Yeah.
some way through the process is that resonant language is not a formula. Resonant
Mm.
language is first and foremost that felt sense of someone being with you
Yeah.
and getting gotten, and the warmth that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the
Mm-hmm.
warmth is absolutely crucial. Mm,
It is a really, really big piece.
mm,
I think that also it's the tone of voice,
mm,
the rhythm of the
mm,
conversation,
mm.
whether it's with movement or verbal.
Yeah.
Those are also components,
Mm,
and eye gaze.
mm,
The whole face really comes into play very
mm,
strongly.
mm, mm.
Mm.
Yes.
And pauses.
Yes, pause and spaciousness was the word I was about to say, and I'm thinking about just in this moment actually a quality of conversation with my mother that people used to comment on a lot, which is oh, her habit of leaving pauses that would then be punctuated by a non-verbal expression of or something of that kind, which
Yeah.
absolutely conveyed a sense of her um, deep engagement in
Yeah.
what the other person was sharing, and
Absolutely.
and a way that she would actually be bringing it into her whole body to feel it, so that she could then offer whatever it was that she was going to offer next in the conversation. And just what a lovely gift that was.
Very much so.
Mm.
There's another part of that would be the reciprocalness of it, for there to be an exchange. We're not broadcasting when we're using resonant language. Broadcasting is I'm up on the stage and everybody's just listening to me. And resonant language is there's a give and take in it. There's an exchange that happens. And so phrasing with words like, well, that really resonates with me. How is that for you? So really inviting the conversation to deepen with curiosity and interest and authenticity really makes such a difference.
Yeah. And pausing to sense whether, either for ourselves or for the other person, there's been a little rupture is really important too. So I suppose it's that deep bodily listening that enables us to notice if the connection has become a little more tenuous or a little fragmented, and we've gone out of rhythm with the other person, or out of rhythm with ourselves, and therefore sort of, pulled back a little, or or pushed forward. That might be another response that we might have.
And so even thinking about that, one of the ways that might show up when it's not resonant is there's not that tuned in, there's not that pausing or sensing and not even noticing, just getting caught up in my own experience, and the other person kind of disappears for a while.
And it may be that can happen because the other person says something that is a trigger for some memory or story, or something that's kind of unprocessed within us, that takes us into our own kind of space and away from the connection.
And another way is maybe getting so caught up in what we're saying that we actually dissociate a little bit into it, and we're no longer really present. And we can get lost in it, caught up in it. And so the power of a repair with resonant language is really supportive, as you were saying.
It is. So what would the other... I'm just glancing down, looking at my notes, because I did actually make some notes for today's conversation, unusually for me. A couple of things that were really important to me as I was thinking about this is that in resonant communication with someone else, we need to be feeling always for consent. We can't go charging in, deciding we're going to be resonant with someone else when that process is too much for them. So we actually need to be feeling gently for how safe the conversation feels for them, and just touching gently on the edge of where they can go in terms of being resonated with. Because actually, if you haven't experienced much resonance and warmth, too much of it all at once is going to blow you out.
It needs to be something you grow into. So it's growing trust that it's actually safe, because as you were saying, if you're not accustomed to it, it can feel very vulnerable. In fact, it's quite vulnerable because it's very authentic. And yet once we can, the power of it is that it meets the needs of being known.
Yeah.
And so when there's an exchange of being known and knowing of other, that creates that neuroception of safety, that then there's an expansion and then an opening that can happen, especially within the chest and the inner organs. And those sensing organs really support the resonance.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why our partners, the horse, are really so supportive for us when we are about this work, the healing work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of that you could share that pop in?
Yeah, actually, I was just thinking a really lovely example, recent one, from working with someone who hadn't experienced this work with horses before. And as I would normally do, I sort of explained a little at the outset of the session that a core part of the way that we work is in the naming of sensations, feelings, and needs, and that's using that inner awareness, and that my role is to kind of support the client to access that awareness. And I suppose what really struck me about that process was the power of the very simple but attuned guidance to notice internal sensations and to connect those internal sensations with emotional flavors. And then asking really gently, so if that emotional flavor made perfect sense, what might you be needing? And for this particular client, the sensation was familiar, but being able to link that to the emotional flavor of fear and the need for safety was incredibly powerful. And to be held in a container of safety in order to do that, what I was very aware of was the importance of pace and phrasing and tone, and not asking the client to dive too deep, because that would have been too much. So using my sense of resonance, I suppose, with what was happening for her internally to kind of judge that. And of course, we don't always get it 100% right, and in a sense we don't need to, but that's what we're feeling for. And then to explore with the horses, actually, what would safety feel like? What would it be like to experience a felt sense of safety with another being? Really beautiful process that absolutely depended on resonance between me and the client, and then resonance between me and the client and the horse, to kind of explore all of that in a gentle, progressive way. Not sure if I've explained that as well as I could, but that example was very, very present for me when you were speaking.
So there's actually a complexity there in the resonance as you're holding that sacred space.
Yes.
Because your resonant self is resonating in a complex way with client, with your partner horse, with even the elements, and so there's a it's in my experience, and I'm imagining that was like almost another world experience.
Yes, and as so often is the case, the elements were very much part of the process. It was incredibly windy, blustery, windy, dust flying around, and so there's almost I suppose a sense of, well, how can we create safety, even amongst this maelstrom of elemental kind of forces. How can we find that together? Which is really what resonance and resonant language is about.
Yeah.
Fundamentally.
So what a beautiful opportunity to experience safety in the midst of that wind with all the changes. It's like the winds of change.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's a beautiful
very beautiful
illustration.
Yeah. How about you, Gloria? Do you have an example that comes to mind of this process of an action?
Well, with resonant language, just the power of slowing down.
Yeah.
I had an experience the other day with a client where it was even with time travel empathy, how to notice the moment in time when there's the focus, the state has shifted, and there's this felt sense of noticing the body, how key it is, those components of noticing the face, the breath, the body posture, that alerts me to know that there's a young part present.
Yeah.
That's needing that resonance, that safety, that felt sense of mattering, to be caught. And it's exquisitely gentle. And just to really pause and truly trusting that timing, that's a real, it's for me, it's a spiritual practice of really tuning into to that which holds us all, to guide the whole orchestration of life, right?
Yes.
And to slow down and then just inviting to notice the breath and inviting to notice those subtleties and then noticing and tracking the state of the client by their breath, by their, if they even can speak, or their face expression. And you can witness as by using the resonant language of just noticing that, well, if the person was actually feeling angry, was feeling, well, more of a suspicious resentment, like a little one that had been left behind, and now someone came back and has an ambivalent attachment will, now they're going to be mad because now you're back, because you were gone.
Yeah.
And it was a really little one that didn't have a lot of words.
Yeah.
And so how powerful the somatic empathy is with resonant language, to capture that and acknowledge that, and to acknowledge that, well, no wonder, and then when that happens, there is just this, you could just see the integration happening. And a deepening of the breath and a returning to present time. And there were like little layers of that. And so, as you said, working at the edges, there's an eloquence to that, and a grace that it's what does that system need in this moment? And it's like the Goldilocks story, nothing more and nothing less, right? To get it just right. And that's enough. But that was just exquisite and so powerful. With those, because those moments where trauma has happened, they can be elusive and they can appear. So when we can begin to recognize them and allow them to receive resonance, that's where the healing happens.
Yes. And in order to do that, we have to be attending, and we have to be able to, as you say, catch those moments, but also kind of slow everything down in that moment in order for what's there to be really felt and named. And I suppose when I think about the core components of resonant language, in terms of what sort of things might we actually be saying, because I think we've done a lovely job of capturing the the state that we need to be in order to be resonant, and in some ways the impact of it, but the actual components of it, you know, what you and I be saying when we're working with someone and using resonant language, the noticing, that's really important. Inviting, noticing, attention to emotional states, to how the body might be expressing that, inviting awareness of needs and longings and values.
And
Those
the sensations, the body
and the sensations, that's right.
sense.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it's so important.
Some of my clients have started writing, just as they go about their lives in the world, have been writing SFNR on their arms as little prompts, which is sensations, feelings, needs, requests, which is just as a beautiful little reminder to be accompanying themselves through their days and moving towards resonance with themselves. Just been a very lovely supportive practice, apparently. Yeah, I was quite delighted to hear that they've been doing that. Wasn't my suggestion, it was their idea at a workshop. Yeah, quite lovely.
Very innovative, creative.
Yes. Yeah,
it's nice to find a practice that supports us to integrate these new skill sets. You know, it's so important to recognize what we tell ourselves, and then how can we switch that up. So we've talked about the default mode network in the past. Resonant language is the antidote to that, to create a resonant self-witness or a compassionate presence within us to accompany us. Because one of the things that I was hearing in both of our sharing is it's key to have that accompaniment that knows how to resonate with your experience.
And I, you know, because if you haven't experienced that, it's very difficult, in my personal experience, to bring in the warmth. But like, if I just read a book and just sort of did this on my own, I'd probably be reasonably good at figuring out the sort of procedural steps. But I would struggle to bring in the depth of warmth, and without that, it's very difficult to get the other components that we've been talking about: the spaciousness, the timing, the phrasing, the pauses, the deep felt sense.
That's true. I just I know in my journey, being able to embody these concepts so that they're tangible resources. I had things listed all over my dashboard, all over my refrigerator, all over my bathroom mirror, you know, everywhere. These lists,
Post-it notes.
And the first time on my own that I was able to experience it was my son had a limbic burst where he'd flipped his lid and coming home from school, and he's in the back seat of the car. And for me to, I'd pulled over quickly and looking at the dash to see what I could do, all these strategies for empathy. And in my mind, I'm like, already tried that. And all of a sudden I'm like, what if I just stop and I drop into here? And it was just a total experiment. You know, what's happening here? Because I was so panicked about how to make a difference. And as I dropped in and I went deep and I started to feel my own overwhelm, and under that the pain and the worry and the grief and the fear, and I could start to name that and come to the needs underneath it, the need for support, the need for accompaniment, to know I'm not alone. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's quiet, what happened? Because I went there, the resonance also enveloped through the car. And I got out and I got in the back and I just snuggled him up. And it was such a beautiful experience. And there's a little funny ending. Then as I'm just sitting there, because we're off to the side of the road, all of a sudden there's these flashing lights, and there's a policeman came up. He had his big hat on. He comes up and he goes, "Everything okay, ma'am?" And rolled the window, and I just said, "Oh yes, thank you, officer. My son just had a limbic burst, and we just needed to take some time to be in our hearts." He's like, "Okay then." He didn't know what to make of that.
But it didn't look like you were immediately dangerous, so it's
Well,
probably
I'm
fine.
holding this little boy in my arms, and so as he left, then my son, he wraps his arms up around my neck and looked up at me with teary eyes. He goes, "I love you, Mommy." I mean, so it was so powerful that I just named the truth. And he didn't have the language, but he could see it. He had to have had that felt sense. But I'll never forget that moment, ever. I learned so much about, so there was no language in that out loud.
No.
That was all just, and it was resonant language.
Yeah, that's right. And that's such a beautiful, beautiful illustration of how, oh gosh, when we're using resonant language, what we're really doing, being, is
It's the being, yeah.
is just touching on the vastness of what flows between us.
Yeah.
And like artists, we are just gently shaping that so that we move towards peace.
Well, when we take the time to really embody it, we're actually changing our own frequencies. If you think about the musical instruments, we are an instrument. And we embody these energies, and when we can bring our attention to them, we can begin to make music in brand new ways.
Yeah.
So one of the most fun ways I've ever discovered to have resonant language with my herd, I'm imagining it's one that you enjoy too. And it's actually dancing with horses.
Yeah.
And what it is a rhythm, is an exchange. And definitely a communication, and who's the leader and who's following and taking turns, and oh, it's just amazing. So that's a beautiful way to experience it in the healing herd method.
Yes.
Without model.
Yes. And the other way that I really enjoy and have found to be really powerful with groups, as well as sort of for myself as an individual or working one-on-one, is bringing music in. And it may be music that I've chosen, or sometimes in a workshop context, the group will choose pieces of music that are really significant to them, and we will share space with the herd with the music playing. And there's often at the beginning of that process a little bit of movement while everybody finds where they need to be. But then what will happen is that we will drop into a profound stillness in which a lot is happening in terms of resonance and communication without words or even movement. And that's an incredibly powerful healing experience.
Yes. I'm imagining another conversation we might have about resonance with the herd.
I think so. Yes. Yes, we'll make a note of that topic for another time.
So if people are interested in coming and getting to participate in some of your programs, how might they reach out to you?
Yes, I'd love to hear from anybody who's curious about this or would like to explore coming and working with me. You can contact me most easily by just going to my website, which is www.ingridgunby.com, and you can either give me a phone call, send me a text or send me an email. How about you, Gloria?
Yes, I invite you to reach out to me on my website as well, healingyousanctuary.com. And there's lots of things to explore there as consultation, where we can have a chat and see what's next. Well, this was a lovely conversation today. I enjoyed it very much, Ingrid. I look forward to our next one.
Yeah, me too, Gloria. See you soon.